It's Christmas. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, your excellencies and delegates, as you spend the next year deliberating, debating, and discussing the issues of the day. Those whose task it is to offer instant opinion on great and small topics. Maybe if our comments were made with a little humour, gentle understanding, maybe then we'll have peace on earth. With recent events of mass killing around the globe, with conflict, our thoughts and prayers with the families at this time at Christmas. There'll be an empty chair, and I will have an empty chair here at home and think of the lost ones who've lost during the year. Welcome. First, an introduction. What we have here is madmen on the loose. Do not blame religion. Do not blame religion for madmen. It's mental health, mentally ill people running amok. We have madmen, individuals, lone wolves in our streets and in the shadows, and that's where we must operate, in the shadows. So before you declare me irrelevant and not to proceed, ask how safe do you feel. What we have here is an immovable Islam versus unstoppable West, termed Islam versus the West, is one of the most defining, debated, often volatile dynamics of the contemporary world, primarily driven by interconnected forces, historical legacy, fundamental diversion in concepts of sovereignty and individualism, ongoing geopolitical conflicts spilled out by external intervention. But now I'm going to tell you a story, a good news story. In Islam, going back to the first caller of prayer, the untold story of Bilal ibn Rabah, who was an Ethiopian slave, Abyssinia, Hijra. The first migration from Mecca is Ethiopia, Christian nation, where King Negus drew a line in the sand between Muslims and Christians and said, I declare Jesus is a prophet and I believe Muhammad, peace be upon him. Ethiopia and Bilal ibn Rabah is a strong link that links Christianity and Muslims. As I said, he was Ethiopian, he was a slave. His master worshipped God, he worshipped wood. But Muhammad, peace be upon him, was preaching in a marketplace, and Bilal heard of one God of Islam, and his submission was accepted in Islam. And this showed pluralism in Islam. No matter colour or creed for you, there's a place for you, and there's no room for racism in Islam. He was the first chosen to be the caller to prayer because of his immense, soulful R&B voice. He called the prayer. He sang it. Now, this Christmas, Tommy Robinson organised carol singing in London, reclaiming Christianity. He says masculine Christianity is on the rise, where churches become weak and Christianity is full of weak people. I agree with him to a point. I can see civil war between Islam, Muslims, and the West Christianity. Western Christians and Eastern Muslims. The solution is what's prescribed for you. What is good for both Muslims and Christians to combat is prevalent surah and parable. Surah is a chapter in Islam in the Quran, and parable is a story told by Jesus to reflect a moral in the Bible. If you recite chapter Spider, Surah Ankabut Muslims, it says it's a warner. Don't argue with Jews and Christians unless you come with something better than them. Unless it's those who cause trouble, then defend yourselves with the righteous sword of Allah. For Christians, it's prescribed for you to preach the parable of the Good Samaritan. The moral of the story is love your neighbours, and the last command of Jesus, love one another and love God, mind, body, and soul. Peace on earth. Let us not forget the true meaning of Christmas. Peace song, Peace on Earth by U2. Bono sings, God, will you take the time to throw drowning man a line? Peace on Earth. The lyrics capture the essence of Christmas. Yes, Christmas. Rebirth of Jesus as part of a rescue mission. God is throwing humanity a line to save the earth from destruction. Bono's song echoes a song sung by angels to startle all the shepherds. Glory be to God, highest heaven and peace on earth. 2,000 years, now peace is elusive. Stability on earth is even more at risk. Mass shootings and conflicts, like in Israel, the Promised Land conflict, Israel versus Palestine, Jews versus Arabs. People did little to help the world cursed by greed and diseased by national self-interest and individualism. The planet aches for peace, for the audience angelic concert made up of poor, marginalised, socially excluded shepherds. Forget the romantic heroes in front of some Christmas cards. Shepherds were despised and distrusted. They were forced to live out in the hills, guarding the sheep from ravenous wolves. If you asked them what peace on earth would look like, they would have said, "Oh, peace would look like a wolf, a time when the lamb is no longer lived in fear of being killed by the wolf. Heaven on earth for the Palestinian shepherd would be a time when the wolf and lamb should lie down together. The story of the lion and the lamb, when the lamb and lion should lie together. That's exactly the vision that God gave the prophet Isaiah hundreds of years before the arrival of Jesus. He said, I'm creating new heavens, new earth, where the wolf and the lamb shall lie together. Harmony with an animal kingdom would be a sign of the coming of earth. We must reconnect with nature. Yes, Mother Nature. Another sign of this new world would be a babe lying in a manger. No one in their right mind would put a newborn in a manger where donkey munch their food, but baby wouldn't be safe. Except this baby was special, anointed and different. His lying there, and animals, total peace, in a typical Palestinian home, was a sign of a new kingdom. Would there be harmony? Not just animal kingdom, but between animals and the human family. The mission of Jesus was to bring back a new world. Would it be peace on earth, lying cheek by jowl with the animals?